Hello friends, this is Neetu Jain. This session is on conflict management. Today we are going to talk about as to what is conflict, what are the consequences of conflict, nature of organizational conflict, sources of conflict, forms of conflict and conflict handling modes. Now let us see what is conflict. According to dictionary meaning, conflict is nothing but any disagreement, incompatibility, fight or struggle between two or more people. Working together is not always easy. According to Follett, conflict is appearance of difference, difference of opinion and difference of interest. According to Kolb et al., conflict can be disagreement or presence of tension or any other difficulty between two or more parties. These are the situations in which incompatible goals, attitude, behavior, emotions lead to disagreement between two or more people. We spend 21% of our time dealing with conflict. Conflict management skills predict success at work. Forms of organizational conflict. There are two types of conflict, functional conflict and dysfunctional conflict. Functional conflict is healthy, constructive disagreement between two or more people. On the contrary, dysfunctional conflict is unhealthy, destructive disagreement between two or more people. Functional conflict supports the goals of the group and improves its performance. On the contrary, dysfunctional conflict hinders the group performance. Consequences of conflict. There are both positive and negative consequences of conflicts. Positive consequences. It leads to new ideas, it stimulates creativity and it motivates change. As far as negative consequences of conflict are concerned, it diverts energy from work, it creates a negative climate and it threatens psychological well-being. Is lack of conflict a sign of overconformity or is it unhealthy when there is no conflict? Sources of conflict. There are three aspects pertaining to it: communicational aspects, behavioral aspects and structural aspects. Communicational aspect of conflict is related to communication only when there is too much of communication, too little of communication or misunderstood or partial information sent by the sender or received by the receiver. Then it creates conflict among people. Behavioral aspect of conflict is related to differing human thoughts, perceptions, personality, attitude, values, norms, emotions and understanding. A structural aspect of conflict pertain to role ambiguity or scarcity of resources or interdependence of resources or goal incompatibility between two or more parties. Forms of conflict in organizations. Interorganizational conflict, conflict which occurs between two or more organizations. Intergroup conflict, conflict that occurs between two or more groups. Intragroup conflict, conflict that occurs within groups or teams in organizations. Interpersonal conflict is the conflict which occurs between two or more people. Intrapersonal conflict is the conflict which occurs within an individual. Transitions in conflict thought. According to traditional view of conflict, conflict is harmful and it must be avoided. It was prevalent in 1930s or so. Human relations view of conflict. According to this view, conflict is natural and is inevitable outcome in any group. According to interactionist view of conflict, which is the current view, conflict is not only a positive force in the group but it is absolutely necessary for a group to perform well. There are three types of interactionist conflict. First is task conflict, second is relationship conflict, third one is process conflict. Task conflict is related to conflict over content and goals of the group. Conflict based on interpersonal relationships is relationship conflict. And conflict over how work gets done or how things are carried out is process conflict. Now the conflict handling modes. There are 5 conflict handling modes depending upon 2 dimensions. First is assertiveness, second is cooperativeness. On x-axis we have cooperativeness, which is desire to satisfy other parties' concern. On y-axis we have assertiveness, which is desire to satisfy your own concerns. In competing mode, there is a desire to satisfy one's own concerns at the expense of other parties' concern. You try to win over the argument at any cost. In avoiding mode, there is a desire to withdraw from or suppress a conflict. Compromising mode is one where each party is willing to give up something and there is no clear-cut winner or loser. In accommodating mode, one places opponent's interest above one's interest. There is a willingness to sacrifice your own goal so that other parties' goals can be achieved. In collaborating mode, there is a desire to satisfy the concerns of both the parties. Both the parties try to find out mutually beneficial solution for each party. Information sharing is a common example of this. Friends, each conflict handling mode is useful in different situations. Along with this video, we have given you additional readings. In those readings, you can study about conflict handling modes and different situations they are useful in. So, till now, thank you very much.